Back here on Longhorn Weekly with head coach Shaka Smart. It's time for our conversation. One of the members of the Longhorn basketball program. Shaka, I always leave the introductions to you, and in this case, my personal opinion, nothing else, but this guy who's with us now, I think, is one of the more unique student athletes, not only at the campus of the University of Texas, but certainly in your time at the University of Texas as a member of your basketball program.
Not only that, I would say I've been coaching 25 years, close to that. This is one of the top 5 people I've ever been around. I'm talking about players, coaches, anything. Just a very, very high level person. Kamaka Hepa, happy to have you on the show.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Appreciate you, Coach. Love you.
All right, and let's dive right into this deal. First of all, you're going to graduate with honors with a degree in sport management and a minor in business in just 3 years in May, and you're planning to start working on your master's degree here. So, where did you've always been an outstanding student as well, but where did this passion and commitment for success in the classroom really generate from, the pride you take in your academic success? Where'd that all generate from?
I would say it came from the environment that I grew up in as a child. I feel like those years growing up, you spend a lot of time like developing habits, and I think the environment that my parents specifically helped me create, and then of course my friends in school, that's also another really important aspect. But I think just the environment that they helped foster really helped me develop healthy habits that have been able to translate luckily to the collegiate level. And I think that education is really important, and my parents have stressed that to me since I was a little kid. And I've taken a lot of pride in just continuing to hone in on those healthy habits that are going to continue to help me as I keep getting older.
Shaka, it's a given that coaches like to have student athletes who are big-time students like Kamaka is. Have you discovered also that his kind of habits, his kind of dedication to the craft of academia has a positive effect on your other guys, even as your other guys are good students, but just the mere fact to have somebody that performs at that level as, if not an example, certainly a member of the team, and say, hey, look, here's what this guy's doing. Anybody can do this if they're putting their mind to it.
Well, I think Kamaka's example all around, not just in school, but starting with the spirit that he has inside of him that he brings every day is just flat out special. And I know for me personally, it makes my experience at the University of Texas better just getting a chance to be around him. And that's the same for every other member of our program. Academically, when we go through the recruiting process, and Kamaka probably doesn't even remember this, but I always challenge guys. I say, hey, I challenge you to come to the University of Texas and have a better GPA than I had when I was in college. And most guys come up short of that, but Kamaka right now has got me beat. So I got to give him that credit.
Is that a personal challenge for you, Kamaka, to make sure that you're performing at a higher level than coach?
I didn't remember that, but now that I know, I definitely have to make sure I finish off this last semester, my undergrad strong for sure.
Coach talked about the spirit that you bring to this basketball team and the program, the energy that is palpable that we see on a given. Do you find that it is probably even more important, not only in terms of your contributions, and Shaka, I want you to weigh in on this as well, given what we're dealing with now with fanless arenas, empty arenas right now, that it might be easy for teams to just kind of settle back into a lull, like a close scrimmage of sorts, and seeing how you're trying to get your teammates fired up and making sure they have the juice flowing and that they're locked in and engaged in the game. How important is that to you to be a part of that?
It's definitely some of the most important work that I do with the team. Like, I feel like my role is to continue to build our collective spirit as a team. I think that's a really important part of the basketball game, and I'm going to continue to embody that role. But I think it's just helping my teammates find it in themselves, because I think that everybody, every person, every human being does have that spirit inside of them. I think it's just a matter of awareness and knowing that it's inside of people. So I think that my job and my role is continuing to raise the awareness in my teammates that they do have that spirit, and that we as a team have a collective spirit that I believe is one of the best in the nation. And I'm going to continue to chip away at that and continue to raise our spirit level, because I think that it directly correlates with our success.
Shaka, is that a role that is overlooked, undervalued, not really considered as much by, say, a lot of the folks, especially people outside the program, but is so essential to making sure your team stays connected and does the things that you want to do, to have that kind of spirit embodied in one person to be imbued through the rest of the team?
Well, I'll tell you who it's valued by. It's valued by people that understand winning. I have coaches text me after our games, and they'll say, man, number 33. And sometimes they don't use the word spirit. Sometimes they say energy. If it's a coach that's worked in our program before, either here or VCU, they say spirit, because that's something we talk about a lot. But again, I keep saying it, on any team sport, the energy that's given off among the members of that team is highly influential over, your ability to do your job out there on the court. And over the course of a long game, it makes a big, big difference. So, Kamaka and I, and, some of the other guys on our team, probably most notably Jace Febris, we share a lot of, just interaction about this topic on and off the court as it relates to the development of each other's consciousness. Kamaka's been a voracious reader. He's read a bunch of books about this topic. And, we really feel like beyond basketball, but included is basketball, is, if you want to really max out and be able to have the best experience you can and be the best you can be, then this path is one that you have to be on.
All right, coming up, we've had Kamaka kind of tell his story in the past, but there's some revision that needs to go in to the story of this young man from the state of Alaska. We'll do that coming up when we continue with Longhorn Weekly with head coach Shaka Smart, our special guest during this portion of the program, Kamaka Hepa, seen by those of you watching on the Longhorn Network and heard all across the great state of Texas on the Longhorn Radio Network from Learfield IMG College. We welcome you back to Longhorn Weekly with head coach Shaka Smart. Our special guest during this portion of the program is Kamaka Hepa. For folks who don't know, Kamaka, of course, a native of Alaska. I want to make sure I pronounce it correctly. And please tell me if I just butcher this. Utqiagvik? Alaska?
No, it's called Utqiagvik.
Utqiagvik.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Most people know it as Barrow, Alaska, but I wanted to make sure I had it right. All right, Utqiagvik. Okay, Alaska. All right, so you were back home there as students, of course, had to transition into remote learning during the course of the spring. How long had it been since you'd had an extended time back in your home state of Alaska, and how did all that unfold for you during the course of the spring and into the summer up there?
I hadn't really spent time up there for that long since the end of my senior year. So I actually moved back to Alaska after living in Portland for 2 years. I moved back to Alaska to graduate, and I was up there for 2 months. So I was barely back, but I hadn't really lived in Alaska since I was 16 years old. So it had been 4 years, and I hadn't lived with my mom in that long. I hadn't lived with my family in that long. It had been a while. So going back home and adjusting was definitely an experience, but I'm forever grateful for it, because I feel like being so far from home, I don't really get to spend too much time with my close family, like my grandparents and of course my parents and my siblings. So I think that just utilizing that moment and really embracing that moment was something that was very important for me, just in having another experience like that with my family. I thought that was a really good time.
Okay. All right. So included in these experiences, and I'm going to get Shaka to weigh in on this as well, but tell folks a little bit about this business of interning at the fire station there in Ukevivik or Barrow, Alaska. What was that experience like to be an intern at the fire department?
It was definitely a crazy experience. So just to kind of give you context about it, my grandfather is actually from Butte, Montana, and he moved up to Alaska while he was in the military, and he was living in Fairbanks, Alaska at the time, I believe, doing military work out there. And sometime during the 1960s, they asked him to start a fire department up in Barrow, Alaska, when I don't even think there were roads. I think they were, I don't know how they were traveling, but I don't think there were any roads. I don't think there were any really established like neighborhoods or any kind of established community. So he was actually my grandfather was actually the first fire chief up in Barrow, Alaska. And then I guess fast forward however many years that is, 50 some years, we went back home obviously. And then I just had so much time on my hands just in terms of like, it's quarantine and I'm back home in Barrow, Alaska. Obviously it's a really small village, so there's not necessarily too much to do. So I wanted to see how can I expand, how can I grow as a human being. And I came across the fire station internship application, and I thought it was a perfect opportunity for me to be able to grow, and being able to be in that kind of environment definitely gave me a new perspective, and it definitely gave me a new level of appreciation as well, because I was actually working with the EMS guys, and we were running EMS calls. So just being able to have that experience and being able to function under that kind of pressure, because there were instances where there were some serious injuries and whatnot. So definitely just having that in my arsenal of experiences is definitely something I can look back on and just have a different perspective and of course just a level of appreciation.
Okay, so Shaka, for real, what was your response when Kamaka tells you for the first time, I'm interning at the fire department?
Well, I trust Kamaka a lot, so I said, okay, if that's what you want to do, but you're not going to be actually fighting fires, are you?
And I told him I wouldn't, and I didn't fight any fires.
Did you get to learn all the ins and outs of the hook and ladder in the truck and the hoses and all that stuff?
I did have my own bunker gear, so that was really cool.
Okay. All right. Now I'm told my son-in-law is a firefighter in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and I'm told that firefighters are really good cooks because they learned and become really good chefs for a while. Did you encounter some of that when you were interning?
Absolutely. Every Friday we were on the grill. We were on the grill if it was a nice day, if the sun was up, which was actually quite often, more than I thought it would be in May and June. But yeah, we were out there every Friday on the grill, just perfecting another part of our crafts.
Okay, so you've been a voracious reader, obviously, throughout your academic career. What did you spend also when you had all of this extra downtime, pandemic time, spring, summer? How many books did you go through? What kinds of books were you reading during this?
I don't know the exact number of books, but Coach Smart did send me a few. And the kind of scope of what I was reading was really just focused on kind of going inwards, and really figuring out like what we are inside and things like that. And I think that to kind of give it a name, I would say just spiritual work, reading about spirituality and being here, being in this moment. I think that's a very big part of it, but it's definitely a personal journey. It's a personal journey, but it's also a level of collectiveness to it. So I think that's really important as well. And obviously me and Coach Smart have been going at it with this kind of work for a few months now. And I appreciate Coach Smart a lot because he has helped me recognize things about myself through this work that I would have never have. And he's definitely set me up to just being the best human being that I can be. Because at the end of the day, that I believe that is what a lot of the stuff that I do read is about, just becoming the best person that you can be. And then of course, translating that to those people around you. And I think that with the work that I've done with Coach Smart, and I genuinely believe that I owe Coach Smart my life, because he the path that he has kind of helped lay out for me has tremendously helped me in just being a person. So it's definitely some of my favorite work to do, and me and Coach Smart, we do have these interactions every morning. So it's something I definitely will never take for granted.
Shaka, I would take it probably does your heart good to have a guy who's every bit the academician that you have been, if not beyond, and certainly the reader that you are and that I've known you to be, to see Kamaka really get into it that way.
It does. And, Jace Febris is right there with them, and Kamaka and Jace actually live in the same apartment. So, what's pretty cool is when, as a coaching staff, you try to spark an idea in young people that maybe you wish would have been sparked in you earlier, and then they grab hold of it and run with it. And I tell you, Jace and Kamaka, both of them, they're so much further evolved than any of us on our coaching staff were at that age, and it's exciting where they're going. And I really think it's going to help them in basketball, but more importantly in life.
Kamaka, we appreciate you joining us. Thanks so much. Continued success, and we'll look forward to seeing you back on the floor again. Thanks for taking the time.
Thank you, guys.
All right. That's Kamaka Hepa. We have more of Longhorn Weekly coming up with head coach Shaka Smart when we continue in a moment.